Hello, and welcome to the 7 Elements of Design tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll teach you about form, shape, space, line, texture, and finally, color and value. During this tutorial, I will be making a drawing that will represent all 7 elements presented in the video. Without further ado, let's get started. The first element is form. Form is any object with 3 dimensions, or it could be anything composed of 2 or more shapes. Take this Heinz ketchup hat for example. Notice how the tomatoes are cleverly stacked into position. These shapes are actually being formed to make an entirely new object. This brings us to our next element, shape. Shape is any object that has 2 or more dimensions, like these square vending machines. In this drawing, I'm going to be drawing Mario. I'm using basic shapes and ovals and circles to create the basic anatomy of this character. I'm making him into a sprinting form, and expressing stance and movement. I'm molding the shapes and adding in detailing, making sure his gloves actually look like gloves, and his overalls, of course, look like overalls. Whenever making a character of your own, or copying a character from anything, use a variety of shapes. In this case, Mario is consisting of very simple oval and circle-like shapes. I'm finishing off his head, adding in some important details like his mouth, mustache, nose, and of course eyes. And can't forget that iconic Mario hat. This brings us to our third element, space. Space is the distance between 2 or more objects. Space can create an illusion of a third dimension on a flat surface. Take this street art for an example. Space can add depth and scale to a piece of art. Notice how there's a big gap in the street, creating a much more epic scale. Our fourth element is line. A line is a track of a point in motion. It can be used to form different entities or objects. Take this clever McDonald's ad for example. Lines can be manipulated or molded to suit a different visual cue. Texture. Texture refers to the surface quality in a work of art. Take example this piece of art here. Notice how there's black and white textures to make a really gritty picture. Notice how I'm using a medium-sized gap between Mario's fist and the brick. I'm using lines to form a square, an entirely new object, and I'm adding a brick texture to the plain object, making it look like an actual brick block. Next to it, I'm going to go ahead and make a question block. Add a nice square-like question mark in the middle, and then I'm using the same steps as before and making the other brick square. Our last 2 elements are color and value. Color is an element that can be expressed when light strikes an object. Color breathes life into a piece of art. Take this street art for example. Color and shading values truly allow art to pop right off the canvas. Take this anti-smoking ad into consideration. Color can be used to evoke a dramatic tone. Notice that the crayons are the only objects that are being colored. This is a stylistic approach by the designer for a more dramatic feel. Now we're going to go ahead and color our Mario. Blue for his overalls, red for his shirt, and a peach skin tone for his face, black mustache and eyebrows, and of course his red hat. Whenever you get the chance to when making art, always add some color when need be. Color really makes the drawing pop off the paper. Using shading values is key into doing this. Shading adds texture and depth to the image. Notice how I am using dark shading for his left leg and around his overalls. This is where the shadow is actually being overcast on his body, along with the bottom of his arms and on his mustache. Working from light shades to dark shades in color is a technique that I would like to use every time I color something. It really gives you a good idea what shades is appropriate for this image. Different segments of drawing, for example, like arms or the pants of a character, could actually use different types of shading. So make sure you're paying attention to what kind of source image you're using, or if you're just taking this straight out of your mind. Like with shapes, use a variety of shades and colors. Using a variety of shades and colors can really grab the attention of your peers and viewers when looking at your piece of work. It will not only keep them interested in the art, but it will also give them much more to look at. It adds a lot of value to the art itself. Now that the drawing itself is wrapped up, so it concludes the tutorial of the 7 elements of design. I hope I taught you something new about art and design, and, of course, thanks for watching.